One, two. Good morning. I am Bob Gregg. I'm one of the volunteers here, and I get the opportunity to say welcome, thank you for coming, and do the airplane part, which is, if there is an emergency, please exit through the doors that will be on your right as you leave, and nothing will drop from the ceiling, so there are no masks, but please exit the building. Do not mill around in the hallway if there's an emergency. Please turn off all of your electric devices, or at least silence them, unless they're hearing aids. We invite you to complete an evaluation form at the end, and you will find the code to do so right over here. And before we get started, I want to share a quick note about what makes this possible. Though there are tickets to these events, they do not come near covering the cost. The Alliance Center is not a charitable organization, it charges. We pay $15,000 to rent the space, plus $4 per chair. And there's no discounts for the chairs that don't get used. So you can sit on two of them if you want to. It takes all of this to fund just this expo and the many other things that are done throughout the year by the organization. And so it is crucial that we get donors. I have been a contributing member for decades. We invite you to become a contributing member if you are not. And if you would like to, scan the QR code, and that will help. And you can find the fundraisers on all of the stations throughout the year. So thank you, enjoy the demo.
Thank you, Bob. And thank you for coming to the PBS Garden Show. I know I've learned a lot from PBS as far as gardening and cooking. So I have been to the Garden Expo in the past. A couple years ago I did a demo on how to make basil pesto. And I've been working on another presentation that I'll show you today about my passion for gardening is the seeds and harvesting the seeds. So my name is Teresa, and I'm here to talk to you about seed structure and the basics of seeds and how to harvest them. We'll go over some popular seed terms in gardening, and you'll see videos from the wild, which will be gardens that I work in the community, which means that I garden in the public. And I will also offer some seeds from the gardens that you're seeing today. So, like I said, that I work in some community gardens in the Neenah Menasha area, which is about 2 hours from here in the Fox Valley. I am on the committee for the Commercial Street Planters in Neenah, Wisconsin, which is about 25 raised garden beds in the public, which is a really nice place to garden because there are no rabbits to eat my flowers, which is a great testament to gardening in raised beds. I also rent a community garden at UW Oshkosh, which is a great deal. I'm paying $20 for a 20-foot square garden just for 1 year. That is also fenced in, so I don't have to worry about the deer taking away my crop. I also work for Wild Ones in the Fox Valley. I'm the social media chairperson, and I've also harvested some seeds from their prairie and seed classes. So here's some basics and scientific terms about the seed. I'm not really familiar with a lot of the scientific terms, but I do know that the seed has a protective coat and that it has nutrients inside. And it also adjusts to the environment because I am recycling seeds from Wisconsin, from my region. Those plants are adapting to our environment. One important part of the seedling emerging into a plant is the need for germination. And in the germination process, you're going to need some light, some moisture, heat, and nutrients for it to emerge into a seedling from a seed. It's really an amazing process that I'm so interested in. And there's so many different seed types. There's seeds that are bigger for vegetables sometimes, and then there's smaller seeds. Some seeds are so small you can hardly work with them, and they're difficult to see in the ground. Sometimes some soaking or scarring is necessary for the larger plant, larger seeds. This is an example of catchfly seeds, which are extremely small. They're smaller than a pinhead. And they also are the same color as the dirt. So it's really hard to see where you're going with the seeds. And so I work a lot with contrast with the white paper to identify my seeds. And in this case, I'm creating something called seed tape. And you just apply a little bit of Elmer's glue, kind of smear it on a piece of paper, and then put your seeds down, shake off the extra, wait for it to dry. So that's what this example is here. So I've pasted the seeds down, and you can really do this with any seed. And in this case, you could plant the whole row here, or you could just clip off a corner and plant a couple seeds at a time. It also helps prevent the washing away of the seeds when you water them in the beginning. Some companies also have seeds provided in a mat very similar to this, but it'll be kind of rolled up and you receive it in the mail that way and you roll it out. It's got seeds embedded in there. And that's really handy. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the stratification process, which is very common in Wisconsin because of our weather change. And naturally in the wild, you know, the perennials will drop seed, especially the natives. They'll drop seeds, and it naturally comes up again in the spring. Well, it benefits from the melting of the snow in the springtime. And you can actually plant your perennial seeds right now, because we are going to get another cold wave, unfortunately. And we all know that we'd probably get a few more snowflakes. So if you plant some seeds today, when you're over buying seeds for perennials, consider planting them in either a milk jug, which is popular in Wisconsin because we all have milk jugs available to recycle. Make sure you put some drainage holes in there. I use my containers for my annuals and save the dirt that's in there from my chili peppers or my tomato plants that are in containers. I'll winter sow my perennials over the winter in those. And below in the bottom left is an example of some coneflower seeds that I just planted 2 years ago. And it's common for perennial plants to not necessarily flower the first year, especially if you're doing from seed. Another amazing thing that happens with plants is the pollination process. And this is important to know, especially in my case, because I work a lot with chili peppers and hot plants, that there is something called the hybrid and cross-pollination within your garden. And that's how a lot of chili peppers and hot ones are created, by manually pollinating a plant. So there's so many different ways that a plant can be pollinated from insects, which you're familiar with, like bees or butterflies. But it also can be pollinated just by the wind or by a human doing it on purpose. And this enhances the overall biodiversity of the plant growing in our region. Here's an example of one of those perennials. It's called the columbine, and I'll have some of those seeds available today from this exact plant that you're seeing in the picture here. On the left side, you see the columbine just emerging in the beginning of in the spring. Probably about April, starts coming out of the ground. And in the middle picture is in full bloom. This is a double Barlow columbine. And then the flower heads eventually dry up, and then there's a bunch of seeds in that flower head at the end of the season, which is probably around September, October. So here I am in my garden, in my backyard, cutting down the columbine because you know what? When it got really sunny outside and they dried up, I could actually hear them rattling, like a rattle. And the seeds were in there. That's what was causing the rattling sound. So it was time to pull them. I cut them down, put them in a paper bag upside down, and so many seeds drop out just naturally, without any work at all. Now this is the same plant material that you just saw me cut down in the yard. And I wanted to show you just about how much is very little. Yeah, maybe about a dozen flowers that turned into about 100 seeds. And this is just a small portion of one plant, really. So the reason I want to talk about this is that it's often misunderstood about the native perennials is that they're invasive. And it's partly because of the generosity of the seeds that they give. And if you let them just naturally drop in your garden, you're certainly going to have a lot of crowding and maybe having it take over your yard. So I highly recommend that you do cut them down and either dispose of them or share them with friends. Come to a conference like this and I'm sharing them with you so you can put them in your garden and you'll have a lot of seeds in a few years just like I do. And then we're hopping over to talking about some annuals. Now just because it's an annual flower doesn't mean that those seeds aren't viable for the next year. So in this example, this is a flower bed that I'm working in Commercial Street in Neenah, in a public place. And this is baby's breath. And this plant, I didn't plant any of these seeds this year, but they came up from last year's seed dropping. And they just came up. And this was my reward for not weeding. You know, if I had pulled these out and thought they were weeds initially, then I wouldn't have the great cycle of just letting it reseed itself. And it actually ended up more abundant this year than last year. And this is just a picture of really what it came from seedling stage to full flower stage. And here it is filling the entire box, which was so wonderful. And the box is really about as big as this table. And this plant just keeps giving seeds. And I'll have some here to share with you today from this exact spot. So this is a side-by-side of the baby's breath in full bloom, and then on the other side where it's ready to harvest, it's turned into a bunch of seed pods. I'll lay out some plant material here today that you can come up and look at and see what I cut down. You can see the cars driving by. So I'm just going in there and I'm cutting the whole plant down. And I ended up with 3 grocery bags full of plant material that I'm bringing here to share with you. And you can bring plant material and find the seeds yourself too. So in that same planter box, I had planted some cosmos seeds. This is something called succession gardening, where you plant a seedling that's going to come up earlier, and then one that's going to come up later, so that you have a nice wave of flowers. And in this case, I had white flowers first, and then I had the cosmos. The cosmos wasn't getting any sun because the baby's breath was a little too happy. So one thing I wanted you to see here is how the cosmos plant, for one, it's so fun to work with because it germinates really quickly. It's a quick reward. I've had them germinate in five days, especially in the direct sun. And this is a nice example of how the plant has seed and full flower at the same time. And this is when I go in there and I just start plucking seeds where I see them. So it's really kind of the plant that keeps giving as well, because it will drop seed. You can have several different waves of flowers in the same season. Another plant that is easy to get seed from in the flower world is the zinnia. This is my zinnia garden in the community garden at UW-Oshkosh. It is a zinnia variety of State Fair and cactus zinnias. I just throw the seeds down, and I have a nice row of zinnias to help pollinate my pepper plants. So I have them growing in the same 20 by 20 space. And I take a lot of flowers home to put on my table, but the flowers are also bringing the pollinators for my chili peppers too. This is called good companion gardening. So you can see in this video where I'm recognizing that seeds are dropping onto the flower, onto the petal. The leaves underneath the flower head have seeds dropped. So that's it, and this was in September. September and October are typically kind of when we're harvesting seeds in Wisconsin. So that was a good indicator that I could go in there and start harvesting seeds because they are starting to drop naturally. So I wanted to have you take a quick, close look at the zinnia, and the seed is actually attached to the flower petal. And it looks a little bit like an arrowhead. Not all of these seeds will be viable. And if you can just kind of press them with your fingernail, you'll be able to tell if it's too soft, but it should be nice and stiff. So if you want to keep it really simple and basic on how to save seeds, here are some of the pointers that you'd want to look for and have available is you're going to have some way to dry them. I use fans. Sometimes I'm hanging things upside down and blowing a fan on them to keep them dry. This is especially important when you're harvesting seeds from a fruit, because the fruit has a lot of moisture in it. Usually we're going to need to separate the seeds before we do anything like eating fruit or vegetable, and then saving the seeds beforehand. So I talked earlier about my community garden and planting the chili peppers with the zinnias. And some seeds need to be started early, and that would be the chili pepper plants, the hot plants. You're going to need to start those early under lights with some heat, most likely in Wisconsin. I put a heat mat under mine. But our growing season is not quite long enough to do them directly in the ground. That's not the case with these flowers that I'm talking about today, like the zinnia and the cosmos and the baby's breath. Those you can really just put right in the planter that you're going to keep them in, or you're going to put them in the ground right away in April. And please, if you're going to harvest seeds from a hot chili, wear gloves. I'm growing about 9 different varieties of hot peppers. I'll have some here available for you to take home today. And yeah, I'd really recommend starting them under lights in about a month. If you grab some columbine seeds, you could plant those when you get home today. Here's a list of some things that you're going to want to have handy that'll help you with the collection of seeds. And you really want to stay organized. So I sometimes use plates and I label them what plant I'm harvesting, put it on a paper plate, and it'll stay on the plate for probably a couple weeks with the fan going, so that I'm sure that they are completely dry when I save them. You're going to need maybe some pruning, scissors, labels, markers, dry packets. You know, all those silica packets that you're finding in some of your medication bottles, some of your clothing. You could put those in your plastic bags too, as just kind of a reassurance, especially if you want to keep them up for years, because they will last, 3 or 4 years, a lot of these plants that I'm talking about. You can save things in paper bags, your plant material. That's what I did. When you saw me cup down the baby's breath and the columbine, put them in these grocery bags. They've been in there since September. They're nice and dry. Having labels, different size bags, smaller baggies. You may even want to have different kinds of funnels. I use funnels to put them in small bags to get the seeds in there. This is better for maybe larger items like the peppers or other plant material to siphon it through. I also use catalogs a lot. Catalogs are so informational. You can learn so much about a plant, even if you're not ordering from the catalog. It's giving you a lot of information. And if you buy from catalogs too, you'll be better at identifying what the seed looks like in the wild. So earlier in the presentation, you saw a video of all those nice orange flowers, which were called the Ladybird Dwarf Cosmos. So this is a smaller variety of cosmos, and it loves to give seeds. And here's what the plant looks like when it's all ready to seed and all dried. All these seeds are pretty viable. But this is the process you go through when you're working with seeds, is there's separation involved. You have to separate your plant material of all different kinds. You have some really loose material, which I learned from a previous presentation from yesterday with the Driftless group. Had a great presentation about how you can use a fan to eliminate some of the really lightweight material from your seeds because the seeds are a little bit heavier. So I really enjoy the process of sifting through these, even by hand sometimes. So those are the actual seeds that are in the plant material. And I'm going to leave this up here on the stage, so as you're leaving, if you want to take a look, you can also grab some seeds of your own, and I'll have bags available. So this one is Ladybird, Dwarf Cosmos, let's see, and I really use a lot of white paper at home. Contrast is so helpful. We have our zinnias, and you know, I'm kind of impressed at how you'll see these zinnias actually did retain a lot of their color still, even though they've been sitting in a container being dry for about 6 months now. So when you lay your seed down, don't forget to label it. It's so important. When I do my chili pepper seed harvesting, it's really important to not cook the pepper, don't put it in a dehydrator. Get the seeds before that. A lot of these dehydrators have a heating unit. You don't want that. And I also try to limit how many seeds I'm harvesting in one day. It just eliminates a lot of confusion. There's a little closer look at what the seed you can see is still attached to the flower petal. Those zinnias are going to be a mixture. Because I have them all planted there together, I have the state fair and the cactus zinnia all there together. I really don't know the difference. So it's just going to be a variety if you take some of those seeds today. And last but not least is the baby's breath. Oh, all right, it got blurry there for a second. Baby's breath definitely gets a little more messy, but the little black dots are pretty easy to identify. And if you come up and you look really closely at these seed pods, you can see there's the little black seeds in there. Very interesting to me. So along with the baby's breath, the zinnias, and the cosmos flowers, I also have a little bit of columbine, which is all ready to go. So who would be interested in grabbing some seeds from me today? Can I see a show of hands? All right. Well, to try to do this in a little bit of an orderly fashion, maybe we'll start with the first 3 rows. You can come on up here. You can look at the seed material, and we'll also talk about any questions that you have. I also have some chili peppers here. Jalapenos for those that aren't into the too hot. I also have some super hots. Yes, just help yourself to a bag. So it's just kind of nice to have a look at what it looks like in the wild. And you're looking for the long, like this here. Here, let's move the video camera over this way. That'll have to do. Oh yeah. Jalapenos for you? You're welcome. Oh yeah, I should have a marker for people. I'm so happy to share these seeds with you. And I'm excited for you to have them grow in your garden. Yeah, that's a perfect way to do it. You can see all the nice little black specks on the baby's breath. And what are you interested in today? Cosmos? Let's get right back on in here. So remember that the Cosmos is a dwarf variety. Just grab a few seeds and here you go. Because just remember that these seeds and these plants, they give seeds really easily. So you're going to plant a couple of these and you're going to have a lot of seeds for yourself next year, just like I do. Yeah, so you can just pull it apart. Go right ahead, dig in. Pull the petals. There you go. Yeah, what you're looking for is one with like a little arrow on the end. So not those. Like these ones here. I mean, there's been times when I just plant the seed. You know, I just plant the flower head sometimes, and that makes it a little easier too. What are you interested in today? Baby's breath? Come on around to the other side here. See, look at how many more you got now. All those little black seeds. So, let's see. Maybe what I could do is this. There. Now you can funnel that into a bag. Oops. Oh, that's all right. We got a lot. I figured it'd be a little messy. There. Now we can just funnel them into your bag. There you go. Yes. Here you go. Columbine? What are you interested in? Columbine? Yeah. Oh yeah, was it last year? I didn't have very much success with my zinnias last year either. It was too wet. Well, now you have some. And they're for free, so go ahead and hop on down there. Full sun. Yep, Columbine goes in the full sun. So the question was, why didn't our zinnias come up last year? Mine didn't come up either. It was a really wet season. Oh yeah? What are you interested in today? I have some jalapenos. And I also have some longhorn.
Those are cayennes.
Ghost peppers. You're welcome, and I'm so glad to share them with you. Yes, do you want the super hot? Do you want jalapeno? What else would you like? All right, here you go. I just have the jalapenos, if you like that. This is a particularly mild jalapeno here. Share some with your friends, because there's quite a few peppers there. Plants. All right, well, he might like the fatali. That's a super hot. What are you interested in today? Oh, sure. Do you want super hot or jalapeno? Okay. You can try some scorpions. They're very hot. Make sure you wear gloves. Oh, I really like that you're interested in this part. And what are you interested in today? Jalapeno. So this was a chili pepper that I bought at Stein's. It's called salsarific. And then I harvested the seeds and grew them again. But that is a very mild one. Really good for roasting. How can I help you? Sure. Let's see, what do I have left here? Oh. Called salsarific. How are we on time?
So 11:05.
What?
11:05.
So this last slide here, I just wanted to mention is something you could take a picture with your phone. There's some websites here that I will give you more information on some of the topics I talked about today. We'll go into more depth into some of the topics that I talked about today. And don't reuse seeds that have been dehydrated, because they're probably not going to work for you. All right, what are you interested in, sir? Oh, she's just picking. Okay. Well, I'm glad I mentioned the jalapenos today, because I have a lot of seeds. All right, let me grab a bag. And that marker's not working. These jalapeno, you'll want to start those under lights a little early. And what are you interested in today? Oh, okay. And you're okay with digging through? Okay. Now, the columbine, just remember you can put those in the ground now. Come on around to the end of the line here. Yeah, that's where the baby's breath is, at the end of the line. Here, I'll bring a plate, that makes it easier. here's another way of doing it. Alright, so you get some there, and we'll just funnel it in your bag. There you go. A little bit easier. There'll definitely be seeds in there. You're welcome. Who else is looking for baby's breath? Oh, I've had a lot of luck with it in container gardening. So bring it home. I did not. Yeah. Works best that way for me. I'm a community garden, so I'm just kind of all over. And if you want a little bit more and you want to look at the plant materials at the very end of the line there. Yes.